Hello, everyone. Roger Knecht with Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This podcast is dedicated to helping individuals have the successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business that they're excited to have. Now, I'm Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. I've been with the company now for 20 years, and as such, Universal Accounting Center has grown to help many individuals in their desires to have successful accounting careers, whether it be starting and building their businesses, but ultimately, it's to help them become the premier accounting service in their area. Now, with this, we want to encourage you to listen into our other podcasts and episodes. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And we'd love to have you join all of our conversations, because today we especially have a great one with Veronica Wasek. And I want to, first of all, just welcome you. Veronica, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Roger, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This is wonderful. This is not the first time we've spoken. I'm excited for our conversation because I think every time we speak, you have some wonderful insights and tidbits. As a professional type introduction for you, I think it's amazing to be able to, first of all, say that she's the founder of VM Wasek Firm, and it's a profit and accounting firm offering e-commerce strategies for creative entrepreneurs. But you're also the founder of Minute Bookkeeping. It's a blog, a YouTube channel. You actually have an academy for virtual bookkeepers and accountants, and you also have the 5-Minute Bookkeeping with QuickBooks Online as a Facebook group. So you're very active in the accounting community.
I am, and sometimes I wonder how I got there to do so many things.
Well, it's one of those things where at first it seems very daunting. So you've done a great job of balancing it all.
Yes, I think it's just all stems from the passion that I have for helping other people.
Well, that passion can go a long, long way, and I think it's going to come through in our conversation today. So this is great. So we're going to be discussing a number of things, which I think everyone's going to appreciate, which is how you've created a wonderful firm and some tidbits as to your journey as to how you've accomplished that. And I also feel that in our conversation, we're going to have some fun little insights that will be kind of enjoyable for everybody to listen in on. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors happens to be, first of all, Universal Accounting Center and the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap. Veronica happens to be the founder and writer for this curriculum. And as a sponsor of our program, we want to thank her and it for being able to make this possible. So definitely check out and become familiar with the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap, meant to help individuals as accounting professionals offer the premier accounting services efficiently. Now, as we get started here, Veronica, one of the things I think would be very, very appropriate is to have you briefly share what it is you do. Tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. So, well, first of all, I started my accounting business, VM Wasek, in 2010. And I have been growing that steadily since then. I started all by myself. Now I have a team of 4 employees. And we initially started focusing on a niche, specifically dealing with QuickBooks Online. So really had established myself as a QuickBooks Online expert, working with clients throughout the United States. And as of recently have changed my niche to e-commerce, and specifically working with creatives who are also selling online. So it might be products or courses.
Oh, interesting. Very good. And as you've chosen to kind of migrate into the e-commerce spectrum, have you found that that's a very successful niche so far?
Yes, I would say I'm still developing my clientele in this niche, and we have been learning quite a bit about e-commerce from what my counterparts are telling me. It is a niche that has a lot of potential. It's growing a lot, and that is certainly something that I was seeing in the past 3 years of an area that's definitely growing, and it's also a very complex area from an accounting standpoint.
Yes, yes. And I can definitely say that I've got some individuals that I know that exclusively focus their accounting firms on e-commerce businesses. And it is a very good niche to be in. There's a lot of nuances to it, particularly a lot of the software and applications that are used to have an e-commerce platform and do all that selling and such online. So being the accounting professional that can help the firm or the company navigate that is very, very important, especially where you're getting so much of your accounting information from those various interfaces that they're using to run their business. So I definitely understand what you're talking about. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about here for a brief moment is you've got the virtual bookkeepers roadmap to accounting. You've got the Facebook group that you run, the blog that you update. What do you think are some of the misunderstandings that people have about what you do and what your company is, and what could you clarify about what it is you offer?
I think that, I don't know if it's a misunderstanding necessarily, but in general, I think people see me through whatever content they are consuming, basically, that I'm putting out.
Uh-huh.
And so you might think I only work with accountants and bookkeepers, or you might think I only work with business owners. And so it just depends on where you happen to find me online and what you are seeing that I do. But yeah, in fact, I do run an accounting firm, and stay quite busy doing that. But I also do these other things in terms of putting out content for business owners as well as accountants and bookkeepers.
So this is kind of interesting because so many people are striving to have a successful accounting business. You've achieved that. You're doing that. What then took you to then want to kind of give back and get involved in helping other accounting professionals? What caused that transition for you to kind of pay it forward, if you will?
It's interesting because I initially started my blog, and believe I started in around 2015. And I started it because I felt that I wanted to help business owners, and that I couldn't do it just by taking phone calls and answering their questions, which is what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
I was just giving people a free consultation. And I thought, well, I don't think I can continue doing this. And I need to do something to where I'm helping a lot more people. And so that's what started the blog. And along the way, I noticed that accountants and bookkeepers were following our content. And I kept thinking, now I'm just focused on business owners. I don't really want to help accountants and bookkeepers. However, I attended an accounting conference, and at that very morning, I was telling one of my employees who was with me, I said, "Look, I'm here, and I want to learn things. I want people to mentor me. I don't want to mentor other people."
Uh-huh.
And then we went to eat breakfast, and I happened to sit next to this gentleman, and he introduced himself, and he said his name was Hugo. Now, Hugo happens to be the name of my older brother who had recently passed away from cancer.
Mm.
And so I immediately kind of paid attention, like, huh. And I said, I've never met another Hugo. And so I was more interested in talking to him. And he said that he was struggling here at the conference because people were telling him he was doing his pricing wrong, and that he was very discouraged. So I spent some time with him, just encouraging him, mentoring him, and helping him. And I thought, okay, I think this is a sign from God that I'm supposed to help accountants and bookkeepers. And so that's what really got me started then in helping even more people. And that's how I started my Facebook group and started doing a lot more content, and specifically then helping the accounting profession.
I love that. What you've just shared obviously makes this a very personal thing that you're doing, where you had that very uh, unique experience meeting this other Hugo, which was very timely in relation to your brother passing away, and it caused you to really kind of emotionally connect to giving back to the accounting community and helping your peers. And I think that's admirable because so many of the people that I know in the accounting community kind of start in a similar way. There's that pivotal moment where all of a sudden they recognize they've come to that point where they actually have something to share. They've experienced success to a point that they have something that they can help others now achieve success. And you're not threatened by anyone else's success. So it's a chance for you to give back. And I love what you've just mentioned there. So with that in mind, how did the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap as a program come about?
That's a great question, because once I knew that I had this calling to help accounting professionals, I struggled with, well, what does that help look like? What do I need to do to help them? Because there are so many needs, and I kept seeing so many needs, and I didn't know I didn't know, like, okay, what is the one thing I need to be doing? And as my Facebook group grew, I decided, well, I will ask the members. I will ask them what they need. So I set up a survey, and several of them responded. And I think the question was about, like, okay, do you need help getting clients? Do you need help with pricing? Or do you need help with your workflows? And really, I put workflows there because they had mentioned it. I wasn't necessarily as interested in workflows per se,
Okay.
because I'm a natural marketer, and so I thought, okay, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's getting clients, but other people are teaching that. And what the group said in no uncertain terms was, we need help with the workflows. And so a year ago, so this was in about November, December of 2018, I put a course together that I delivered live. And then because of its success, I decided to then, okay, let me formalize this. Let me record all the sessions, and really put together a more robust offering. And that's how the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap came to be.
That's very insightful. I didn't realize that backstory, so that was interesting to hear. When we've done surveys as well as Universal Accounting Center, we've gotten wonderful feedback from so many accounting professionals, and it's really been broken down into three areas, and we now refer to it as mapping the business. And what it basically boils down to is it's either marketing and sales, where the firm is needing more clientele and more engagements, and so they're trying to go out there and acquire more clients, or it's accounting services. They would like to generate more revenue from the services they're providing, offer more value. And then the third is production. And it's essentially what you just described. It's literally, I'm too busy. I'm needing to be more efficient. I feel I could be earning more per hour if I could just become more productive with my time and still charge my clients what I am right now. If I could just become more efficient, that would be helpful. And what happens is you see that each firm, each owner is dealing with one of those three situations. And your program, the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap, does so well at addressing the production side of the company and becoming efficient so that they have those standard operating procedures in place to effectively do the work that they're offering their clientele. So I think that's wonderful. So here's a question for you. You've got all this going on, and you're busy. So with all the accounting apps out there, what have you been able to put together in your app stack that kind of explains what tools or resources someone ought to be using? What can you say about that in relations to the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap?
Yes, and that is, I think that's an area that I see so many people struggle with, because there are so many choices. And perhaps when I started in my business, we didn't have apps for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden there were a lot of apps, but there were a lot less apps. And what I teach in the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap is to really focus, number one, on what services are you going to provide. So if you're not going to be providing payroll services, you don't need to worry about finding a payroll solution. Or if you're not going to be paying bills for your clients, don't worry about finding an app to pay bills with. So it's really focusing on what services are you going to provide, and then assessing the different areas of your business and what are the most essential apps that you need. Because I think, again, there's so many apps, and we just could play with them all day. I know I would love to, and I used to. But it's really about the essentials. What do you actually need to run your business? What's going to be effective? And also at the level where your business is. So you may not need to go and spend a lot of money on something that's much more robust than you need right now. And then just focusing on those few apps that you need. Actually, I think probably for our client apps app stack, we might use 5 apps. So it's just get down to basics and don't get overwhelmed by so many choices.
Yes, yes, so well said. I kind of go back to a very simple phrase I learned years ago, which is baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. It comes from a movie that some people may be familiar about. What about Bob? The illustration here is, I think it can be daunting and overwhelming, but when you just chunk it down to the least common denominator, it becomes a lot more manageable. And the way I visualize it is, you go to these conferences and you go into the vendors area, and there's just all of these booths of all these different tools, resources, apps. Where do I start? Which do I use? How to learn about them? And I like how you described it. It's just basically figuring out, first and foremost, what are the services you're offering, and which of those could become streamlined or automated to help you do your job more efficiently. And then I would add to that, if you've chosen a niche or you have certain clientele, what apps or resources are available within the accounting community that would actually help or benefit your client, and in turn yourself, because you bring it to your client's attention and they think you've done them a favor bringing something to help them do their jobs a lot easier. But in reality, it's perhaps something that's going to ultimately help you do your job more efficiently. So if you can start breaking things down and compartmentalizing them like that, it really does become fewer and fewer apps that you ultimately end up using. And it's not the whole room of apps that you see at the conference center. So well described. I like that. So here's another question for you. You've got the blog, you've got the YouTube channel, you've got this program, the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap, you've got your own business. How do you find the time to produce all your videos and blogs? What do you do for time management?
It's interesting because I don't do time management, I do priority management.
Ah,
And so I've given up on time management. It doesn't work, at least in my opinion. So I've learned that I have to prioritize, I have to plan. So together with one of my team members, we plan all of our content ahead. So we're usually 1 quarter ahead in planning. And then it's based on what is the content that I have to produce, which is normally the video.
mhm.
So I do all of the videos because I'm in the video. So I have to produce. I actually record all of my videos. I pre-edit them, and then we have a college student who does the rest of the editing and production of the videos. I have time set aside on my calendar. So every Thursday morning, I'm working on content and on marketing. And then the team recycles a lot of that content. So they'll take a video and turn it into a blog post, turn it into our newsletters that we're sending to our subscribers. But I try to keep it simple. And I've learned also I don't videos working very well for me. The blog, because I've had it for a very long time, will continue, but I don't need to be doing a podcast, for example. Although congratulations on your podcast, but for me, it's like I don't need to add any more things to do because I have enough already.
Well said. Well, I like how you started. It's different than time management, it's priority management. And you're right. If you can simply prioritize what needs to be done, it becomes obvious where the time needs to be spent. And I don't know if this is true for everybody, but for me, rarely is anything a big enough fire that it has to supersede what I already have planned. Usually anything can wait. And so I find that if I prioritize, I'm able to then say, I'll get to that later today or tomorrow, and it's still okay. It's not like the house is burning down or something. So rarely is there something that has to circumvent or supersede something that's going on. Now, the thing I also liked is how you're multi-purposely using the different things that you're doing. You've recorded a video, it then is repurposed into a blog, it's repurposed into a post. I like how you're leveraging everything there. Have you found that that's been very helpful as you've been trying to multitask and try and get everything done?
Yes, although I think I've only figured that out this year. So I used to write all of my own blogs, and they were all unique blog posts, and then I would do videos, and so everything was something new and different. But I've learned with the limited time that I have to repurpose. And then also understanding that you have people who consume content differently. So some people will watch a video, and then you can turn that video into a blog post because those people are reading it. And so I used to think I had to have unique content in all of my different social media platforms, and then understood that no, you have people consuming content in different ways.
Yes, yes, well said, which is why I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah, and I think you have to play to your
Mhm.
strengths, and if I was doing social media today, I would probably be doing a podcast, and I would definitely be doing video, and probably not a blog anymore. But my blog is like my baby, so I can't give it
Yep,
up.
yep. Well, it's also based on demand or request. A lot of the things that have led to creating the podcast has been basically our followers and our students and alumni, and the requests that they have had for this medium. They want to get the content and information in this platform, and we're happy to provide it now. So here's a good question for you. You've done so much, starting your business as far back as 2010. You've done the blog as you've described, the videos. So I'm curious, if you could go back in time, go even as far back as 2010, when you started your business, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself as a business owner going on this new adventure?
It's interesting because I posted something in my personal Facebook about that because people were doing the whole that challenge of showing a photo of yourself from 10
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago and a current photo. And I thought, well, if I had to go back and tell myself something or encourage myself, what would that be? And it's funny what came out, because it was basically me telling myself, you're going to be an entrepreneur, and then saying, stop laughing, because if someone had told me that then, I really would have laughed, because that was the furthest thing from my mind. And then really, I think I would tell myself to stay focused. Keep doing what you're doing. You'll be discouraged. There'll be bad times. There'll be really bad times, but there'll be great times. And just keep doing what you're doing, and focus on being the best you that you can be, and don't let fear hold you back.
Wow, that's really good advice. The fear, the discouragements, they're there. I think you said it very well, but what I've written down for my own self is it'll be worth it. In the end, it'll be worth it.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
keep going and it will be worth it. So this is kind of on the same line. Do you have a mantra or a quote or something that you use in your business that kind of keeps you grounded?
Well, I've come up with some theme words for each year. So for this year, it has been to be bold and unstoppable.
Mm,
So when I'm considering to doing something that I haven't done before, and maybe that fear kind of kicks in, then I'll say, no, I am bold and I am stoppable. And even in changing my niche initially, of you get that fear of like, well, okay, you haven't worked on that many e-commerce clients, and what if they find out you don't really know e-commerce, or I mean, those are, you start going there in your mind. And well, I just told myself, well, all I have to do is learn it. I've learned everything else along the way, so this is just something else I need to learn more, and which I have now. And just be bold, just do it. Don't let fear hold you back.
You said something there that reminded me of one of the things that I see oftentimes with people is they're struggling with what to specialize in or what to do next. And it's referred to as the imposter syndrome,
Yes.
is you're in essence faking it till you make it. And there's a lot to be said in business. When you start working with business owners and you have clients, you'll find that that's a very common thing that happens, that in business, in order to take that first step, sometimes you have to let your passion precede your expertise, and that passion is where you're hoping to make up the difference. And you'll make mistakes along the way, and that's why it's scary and it can be daunting and you can be discouraged. But if you are persistent with that passion, the experience comes, the confidence comes, and you can work through it. So I liked how you were very open there, because going into that niche of e-commerce, that niche is something that you have to there's got to be a first client somewhere. And so I like how you've described that. That was very genuine. Thank you. Um, let's talk about your business. You've gone from a business of one to many. You've got employees. How were you able to accomplish that? How were you able to manage that?
Well, initially, I th- once I understood that I was going to run, it wasn't going to be just, and I don't want to use the word just, but it wasn't going to be just an accounting business. It was going to be run as a business. That then I knew I needed to systematize my business, because I had read the E-Myth Revisited
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
and then knew that, okay, first of all, I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur because I am creative, and I understood that creativity, at least that was my takeaway from that book, was creativity is at the heart of entrepreneurship. So I understood that. And then I understood that I needed to systematize my business, because it really resonated with me when they talked about the technician in the
Yeah.
business. And that I had always seen in the accounting firms where I worked, the owners were the technicians. And so I knew, okay, I will be the technician starting out, but I'm not going to remain in that role. And the key is that systematizing the business. So from very early on, from the time that I started adding employees, then I was creating systems along the way. So whether it was a system for my first employee who only worked 3 hours a week to now having systems for everything that we do in the business.
Well, Gerber does an excellent job in the book E-Myth explaining the value of creating those systems. Systems become a very integral part of success, I believe, and that's where I believe your virtual bookkeeper's roadmap is so essential and helpful for individuals that want to actually be successful with their bookkeeping business. And I can't say enough, that's why the podcast exists. It's titled Build the Premier Accounting Firm for a reason. I think these things are very poignant and they're relevant. So what you experienced growing from your one yourself to many required that you go through and actually put in those processes and systems. So that's well said. And with Gerber, one of the things that I can say is that book does influence even today some of the decisions and things that I do as the president of the company, just simply because of the context that he put it in. It was very well done. So I appreciate you sharing that. Here's an interesting question. In your business, are there any KPIs, key performance indicators, that you watch within your own company?
Yes, and actually, we have a monthly financial strategy meeting internally. And when I say we, it's myself and my right hand person here at
Uh-huh.
VM Wasek. And we that is a standing appointment on my calendar, and we review our financials. So we do what we would do for any of our clients, or what we would want our clients to be doing, is looking at their numbers. And we use Spotlight Reporting, which is a like financial dashboard app,
Mm-hmm.
to then really look at the numbers in a more concise way. Because the moment that I start looking at my balance sheet and profit and loss, I go into accountant mode, and I need to stay in CEO mode.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at dashboards and I'm looking at KPIs, and primarily we're looking at we look at revenue month over month,
Uh-huh.
and then compared to the prior year. We look at our gross margin percentage, and we have some targets that we've set for all of these numbers. And then we look at our net profit margin. We look at my compensation, because this business is here to serve me now in my lifestyle. That's I've worked very hard to get to that point of being that CEO,
Yeah.
and then now getting compensation out of the business when a few years ago there wasn't any. So it is, and I think it's very important. We fail to really look at that for ourselves as firm owners, and even for our clients. Of what is their compensation, and is that ultimately serving their lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
And we also look at hourly revenue per client. So we'll, on a monthly basis, are looking at then what we're essentially averaging per hour.
Okay,
Uh,
good.
yeah, I know some people don't think you should track time. We still do, but we do it for that purpose of tracking that particular KPI.
Well, first of all, just kind of going backwards, I'm glad to hear that you're actually tracking um, your billable hour, for lack of a better term. But I believe you don't charge based on hourly rates. And so I think what you're doing is you're using it as a key performance indicator as to how efficient and profitable you're being internally, but it's not necessarily how you're pricing and quoting your services. So I like that. The second thing is when you're talking about keeping that CEO hat on, I can't stress enough how important that is. We refer to it here as becoming an accountrepreneur. So it's definitely recognizing in the industry you're an accountant, but you have to have that entrepreneur spirit and essence about yourself as you run your business. And so to have and run and operate the premier accounting firm in your area, you have to be that accountrepreneur as that leader. And so I think that was helpful. So great insights on the KPIs. I think everybody can relate to them, not just because we're accounting professionals, but because we're running accounting businesses. And it's interesting to see what you're watching and looking at on a monthly basis, as you said. So let me just segue real quickly right here and thank one of our sponsors. It is Universal Accounting Center, helping individuals become accounting professionals and get paid what they're worth, helping people start and build successful accounting businesses, allowing them to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves. And with that, the program that is being highlighted is the Profit and Growth Expert Program. It's designed to help accounting professionals offer key strategies for their clientele based around cash flow management. So many of the businesses out there struggle with proper cash flow, and to offer them value added services built around how to efficiently help them manage that cash flow is essential and oftentimes critical to keeping them in business and, more importantly, become profitable. So become a profit and growth expert, actually add that to your services, and in fact, provide the value that you need to retain the clients that you have and help them become profitable as they would hope. Now, with that in mind, Veronica, I've got something that's very simple. I just want to ask, in your business, what are you passionate about? What is that thing that just gets you excited every day about not only the CPA firm you're running, but also the give back that you're doing through creating this content and material for the accounting profession? What's driving all of that?
Well, I think at the core of everything, I am a creative. And so I get very excited. Well, I'm a creative actually, and I'm a visionary. So
Okay,
it's kind of morphed into both. And so I'm very forward looking, but at the same time, I'm very interested in remaking and reinventing things. So whether it's changing the accounting industry, changing how we work with clients, differentiating myself, working on my marketing. And it's really looking at what the accounting industry is doing and then finding ways of doing things different so that in my business, we can stand out and be different from everyone else. But yeah, it's pretty much if it's something that involves reinvention, new ideas, that's usually where my mind is at all times is thinking of new ways of doing things.
good, good. And then you shared that you have a theme for 2019. What's your theme for the new year?
We're all in.
We're
Is
all in.
the all in because of our rebranding and now working with creatives and e-commerce.
Uh-huh.
And so I need to be all in.
Good.
And so that means just uh, being much more purposeful about talking directly to creatives and to people who are making products or selling courses online, people but essentially who are creative and visionary, and just being, again, very purposeful about talking directly to them
Hmm.
and providing content that they would be interested in.
Good, good. So for the new year, I've got a personal question. What goal might you have for the new year? What are you excited for the new year on a personal level?
I actually want to make more things in my creative part of my life. So I crochet,
Good.
I sew, I quilt. I've made all of the curtains in draperies in my house, and I routinely will make slip covers for all of my furniture. And so I want to make more things. I want to be purposeful about doing that in 2020.
Wow, that is amazing. I'd love to see some of the things that you've done. If you've done the drapery and then the bedding and such, I would imagine that it looks wonderfully well.
Yeah, and it is, that part of me that, again, is creatively expressing
Yeah.
by making things. And I love bright colors, I love prints, and so it's a way for me to have an extension of who I am within my own house, in
Uh-huh.
my own home. And but it is also part of my theme of being all in, because if I'm going to be speaking to creatives and to makers, then I need to be displaying that lifestyle. And while I would say my business and the things that I do in my business and my marketing and my content are a huge expression of my creativity, there is that other part of the things that I do more in my personal life that
Mhm.
I haven't prioritized as much, and that I do enjoy it. I do need to be doing that.
Good. That is really good. So I'm going to go now and draw us back to the virtual bookkeepers roadmap and the blog and the videos and so forth. What advice would you give to someone who is striving to start and build their business, who would like to have the premier accounting firm? And more importantly, what do you see as being a key thing that is kind of with that element, they're going to be a success if they can just keep this one thing in mind?
I think number one, you have to believe in yourself. And I know it's hard to do that, because even for myself, even though I was an accountant, CPA with 20 plus years of experience, when I started my business, I was just as scared as everyone else. And I doubted myself a lot. And I think in some ways held myself back because of that fear and doubt. I think doubt is probably one of the biggest um, the biggest enemy that you have in your business is that self-doubt. So I would say believe in yourself. And the other is, don't worry so much about what everybody else is doing. I mean, I see so many people trying to conform to the, well, the, okay, an accounting firm has to look this way, or you have to provide these services, or you have to do accounting and taxes. You can do whatever you want to do. In fact, I don't provide any tax services. I mean, I'm a CPA, but I just said I don't want to do taxes, and I've done that. My business is very successful. It's not missing anything. So believe in yourself, do your own thing, and take advantage of the social media groups that are there for professionals. Um, because I didn't have that. I had to figure all of this out on my own. But now there's such a community there of people who are willing to help you. And yeah, take advantage of it.
Very, very well said. Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there that people can tap into, and there's a great deal of help that can come from those communities. So that's important. The next thing that I'd like to do is just real quickly make a statement here for our sponsor. The book In the Black, 9 Principles to Being Profitable in Your Business. Excellent resource for you to not only apply these principles in your own company to build the premier accounting firm, but also giving you the tools and the insights you need to help your clients understand what things they need to be doing in their business to also be profitable. It's a help it's a tool, it's a help resource for you to actually then add more value to the services that you're providing as, in fact, that advisor, that trusted advisor that you need to be. So if you haven't already, read the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. And if you don't have a copy, get it now. In the description below related to this podcast, you'll find the information to get your copy. Now, this is going to be kind of fun, Veronica. Just some quick things here. I'm curious, first of all, if you have a pet peeve.
Probably, but I can't think of one right now. I'm sure that I do. And I'm sure
Well,
my employees would tell you that I have many.
as
Well,
one comes up, I want you to share it then.
again, I'm going to think of some, probably people repeating themselves. Actually, my pet peeve is don't make me repeat myself. That's a big one here at the office of when I tell people something, then I have to repeat myself, and because I think they should have listened to me. That is a pet peeve of mine.
Very good. I can relate to that one. Actually, I'm glad you retracted slightly from what you said as to your pet peeve being that people repeat themselves. I've been noted for saying things 2 or 3 ways to get my point across. So sometimes I'm repetitive, in other words. So I might actually be annoying in that regard.
Well, and I actually repeat myself in several ways too, and I think that's the sort of the teacher in me, that I need to
Mm-hmm.
say it in different ways so that I can make sure someone understood, and that's why then it irritates me if people then didn't listen, because I figure I told it in 5 different ways already.
Amen. That is exactly where mine comes from. It's having been in that teacher mode. You want to illustrate it in 2 or 3 different ways so as to help people kind of connect with that principle or point in the way that best resonates with them. And so I'm trying to share it in 1 or 2 ways. There I go again. I just did it. Here's the question for you. What does the word freedom mean to you?
Oh goodness, freedom. And it's interesting because of being an immigrant to the United States, and that means so much as an immigrant, to have freedom. And I would say, and I will answer from that perspective of although I am a U.S. citizen and I've lived here most of my life, but in having the ability to really do what you want to do for the purpose of helping others. So essentially, for me, is a desire to pay it back, in terms of the opportunities that I have been given, as part of being now a citizen of the United States.
I appreciate you putting in that context. Having traveled internationally and been in places where there are some different freedoms or rules, I have to come back home and always be grateful for where it is I live. And I am so happy that you shared that context. And yes, it is something to be a U.S. citizen. And I don't mean that to say anything differently of anyone else who's listening to this podcast from other countries, but I think we all just need to recognize those blessings in our lives that are afforded us by the countries in which we live. So that's nice. Here's a quick fun one. What's your go-to food? If you had the munchies or if you're going to go out to eat, where would you go?
Well, actually, my husband is like an amazing cook, and he does awesome barbecue because we're from Texas.
Okay.
And so I like to eat the food that my husband cooks, and a lot of it is like beef and brisket and things of that. Anything that he can grill, he will grill.
Good.
Um, and so we enjoy doing a lot of that kind of eating. We
Hmm.
don't keep any sweets or junk food in the house. And so if I do eat out, I usually look forward to dessert, and it needs to be something creamy. Like my husband says, like, you like creamy. So yes, I like things that are creamy. Um, so creme brulee, cheesecake,
Uh-huh.
things of that nature, and I do love dark chocolate.
Very good. Well, I'm a sucker for a good creme brulee, so that is nice. That is really good. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I've got 2 really important questions. One is, what do you feel you would like people to know about you, your business, or specifically the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap program?
Well, the thing to know about about me because I feel like a lot of people are now starting to put me on a pedestal when I meet them at different conferences, and they act like I'm this celebrity or something. Is I'm just like you. I have struggled with the same things that you're struggling with, but I'm just further down my journey. So go on your journey, push yourself, be willing to get past the fears and the self-limiting thoughts, and you can do even greater things than I have been able to accomplish. So it's just a matter of believing in yourself.
Well said. That journey analogy, we're all different parts of our journey. We're all on a different or different place in our own experiences. But I love how you said we're approachable. I experience the same thing at conferences and such. There is kind of a celebrity nature to the industry where you get into some notoriety, and at the end of the day, we're just people too, happy to sit down, talk. More importantly, grab a bite to eat, and just kind of share one another's stories, and that's wonderful. Do you have any parting thoughts that you'd like to share?
Well, just to answer your question then about the virtual bookkeepers roadmap, that one of the things that I teach in that program is that the tendency for most accountants is that you put yourself at the center of your business and everything revolves around you, and you become the worker in your business. And the reason why so many things don't work in a business that's in that particular model is because you can't ever take the time to create a team of people who would then do most of the work for you. You don't have the time to even find people to do that. So it's a very critical shift that that I aim to help you with, is to make that shift from being that worker in your business to being a leader in your business, so that you can then have the firm of your dreams.
Wonderful, wonderful. So before I do a quick recap of our conversation here, let me just quickly make mention of our sponsors again. It is first and foremost Universal Accounting Center, helping accounting professionals become what they want to become and get paid what they are worth, building the successful and the premier accounting firm. With that in mind, we've discussed the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap program, designed to give you the tools, the resources to work efficiently and profitably. We've also discussed becoming a profit and growth expert so that you can actually, as an accounting professional, focus on your clients' needs related to cash flow management and helping them actually become profitable with proper systems and processes in place. The third thing was the book In the Black, 9 Principles for Profitability, helping you actually run your business in an effective way, and more importantly, take these same principles to your clientele as their trusted strategic advisor. So look for more information regarding these in the descriptions of this podcast. I would also invite you to listen into our next episode and be sure to subscribe for Building Your Account, the premier accounting firm. And with this in mind, I just really want to appreciate Veronica sharing with us not only her story and journey, but just the creative side that she's brought to the accounting profession. Those creative principles, I think, are so important because as troubles and problems arise, it's that creativity that oftentimes brings the solution. And more importantly, I think it's just your genuine passionness. You've got a wonderful personality, and it's so nice to speak and interact with you. So I wish you the best with all of your endeavors and this new year. Let's all go all in and make it the best year for our careers and have a successful time being an accountrepreneur while you build your accounting firm. Now, with that in mind, just understand this. For more information, you can also go to universalaccountingschool.com and there find the programs, principles, and resources that you need to build the business that you would like to have, and in fact, have the premier accounting firm in your area. You can also contact Universal Accounting Center at 801-265-3777. Do take care. Have a great day. And Veronica, thank you again for being on the show today.
Thank you, Roger.
Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.